good afternoon. This is Hound Dog Steve wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and we have an incredible surprise for you today. I'm here in Bocasian to interview the very famous artist and sculptor Peter Weigang. Now, before I came down, I did a little research on ChatGPT, and so I'm getting the questions from there, and here we have Peter. Maybe Peter would like to just introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Peter Weigang, and what Steve is going to share with you is a complete surprise for me, because he's going to talk about a Peter Weigang that I don't even know. Steve.
Well, there you go. So Peter Weigang, you are a local artist of some prominence, I understand.
I wouldn't think I was any prominence at all. There are many better than me. Yes. But what's this say about us?
Well, it says that you are a local artist who creates paintings and sculptures known for works feature Canadian wildlife and landscapes. And you were born in Germany, of all places.
Well, that was very interesting, Steve, because I was born in a small town called Wokingham in England. I have been to Germany, but I was certainly not born there, no.
And that is near to Stuttgart Academy for Fine Arts?
Oh, well, I'm sure there is an Academy for Fine Arts in Stuttgart, but I've never had the privilege of going there, no.
And there's not one in Woking, unfortunately.
Oh, there's not one in Woking, no.
So you studied fine arts before emigrating to Canada in 1956 and settling in Toronto, where you worked as a graphic designer and illustrator for several years before moving to Bocasian. Please tell us a little bit about that, Peter.
Well, 1956 was an interesting year for me because it was my last year at university in Oxford, and I have never lived in Toronto. On the whole, I do not like the place, and then I have never been a graphics artist. I have been a physicist and a school teacher.
Well, that is absolutely astounding, because it says here that Weigang works have been featured in numerous exhibitions and galleries, including the Art Gallery of Peterborough, no less, and Quarter Arts Festival. And the McMichael Collection, that is a very famous art collection of the famous 7 artists in Canada. So you are in fine company, and you're saying that you are not in the McMichael Canadian Art Collection?
Well, I have been there. I actually visited twice. The marvellous collections of the School of 7. There's nothing by me there. I wish it were.
So, but it says here that you are known for your attention to realism and detail, and you've won several awards.
Oh, that's astonishing. I've had very few awards in my life, and certainly not for art, no.
So this ChatGPT resource for you has been completely inaccurate.
Yeah, it is total garbage. It's a biography of a person who perhaps I'd like to be, but I certainly am not. And of course, my concern is that this is now out on the internet, and anybody who's searching for me, which is very few people, get this, is complete fiction. And I have no way of retracting it.
So there's no way you can talk to ChatGPT and get them to retract or to change any of this information?
Well, as I understand it, Steve, it works like this. They create this AI robot thing, and then it does whatever it likes. They don't supervise what it writes. It just writes. And then it puts it on the internet, and they probably don't even know it's there.
So this actually paints a fairly glowing picture of the Peter Weigang in the world of fiction. But what happens if this is not such a glowing picture? What happens if it's libelous?
Well, it could well be. I mean, it might write all sorts of nasty things about a person and destroy their friendships and cost them money. And yeah, if something is written, it should be a case which you could take to court for libel, and I see no way of doing this.
Absolutely, and of course once it is written, it's down in black and white and cannot be retracted. For anyone else who has copies of this piece of information, you cannot suddenly say, well, forget you read that.
Yeah.
And so this is an amazing little insight into ChatGPT, and you may want to pay particular attention. Maybe even do a search for your own name and see what you've been getting up to in Canada since you were born. But don't be surprised if you find all kinds of misinformation and disinformation, and that is something Justin Trudeau seems to be very, very interested in these days. So maybe you can talk to your local politician.
Well, this, Steve, was something which we knew was coming down the line for a long time. This book here, George Orwell, 1984, was written in 1949, when I was 15 years old. And he is describing the situation. You know, in here, there's the Ministry of Truth, whose job is to recreate history. It just goes back and changes history. And so it's very old news, but we've done nothing about it. And while I was going through it, I picked up a few quotations, which I think I'd like to share with your audience, which may be a vision of what we're doing today. He says, "Always eyes watching you, and the voice enveloping you, asleep or awake, indoors or outdoors, in the bath, no escape. Nothing is yours except the few centimeters inside your skull." And isn't that the truth? We have these cameras watching us all the time. He says, you had to live assuming that every sound you made was overheard, and except in darkness, every moment scrutinized, even in your bath. That's what was written 70 odd years ago. And here we are today. And we have this powerful government. This is what Orwell says. Power is tearing human minds to pieces and putting them together again in new shapes for their own choosing. We have seen this. COVID. People's minds being absolutely warped. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Isn't that the case? And so it goes on. Everybody should read this several times and then relate it to what's happening to us. And the very end of the book is very dramatic, because the hero, Winston, has been resisting this government and this elite and this mind warping stuff all the time. But in the end, they find out that he hates rats. So they put a cage around his head with hungry rats in it. And this is the final thing that absolutely breaks him down. And then his whole persona has been changed. He has been converted to this world of double speak and double think. And he finds it like this. Ends the very last lines. But it was all right. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself, and he loved Justin Trudeau. That's about it, isn't it, Steve?
Absolutely. And for my audience, I think you'll see that we're doing a bit of a spoof here, but it is a cautionary tale of what digital identity, the constant tracking, and the inability to cross-reference information. And so ChatGPT, as fun as it may be, is not infallible, and you may want to be very careful what you wish for. Okay, if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Hound Dog Steve and Peter Weigang, the famous artist of Bob Cajun, wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and we'll talk very, very shortly.
Thanks.
See you now.
Thank you. Thank you.